Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out in this inclement weather, which wasn't quite as bad as what they made it sound like it was going to be, and we were the entire day yesterday, so really happy to be here this morning. And also always want to thank Westchester Community College for allowing us to have these events at this incredible Gateway Center, so thank you to them. And right now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Deputy County Executive Kevin Plunkett to come up and give some welcoming remarks.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone, and it's my great honor once again to join our Westchester Green business team here today to welcome all of you at the Leaders in Sustainability Speaking Series. I personally can't think of a better way to start a snowy March Friday than with a Heineken, all right? So, because I'll tell you, later tonight I'm going to end it with a Heineken, okay? Maybe two, okay? That had to come from the Pace graduate students, I think. So. But anyway, we are very proud, the county executive, myself, our team at Westchester County, to partner with the Westchester Business Council. John Ravitz is here, Marcia Gordon, in this great program. And we have such a great team, a green business team leading the program, both the sustainability program series as well as the certification program. And I want to thank Dayna Glazer here for her work and Scott Fernquist. Let's give them a hand and their whole team. So. And this program can't be successful without great sponsors, and certainly one of our great green partners in Westchester County and Con Ed, and Jane Solnick. Jane, thank you for your commitment and Con Ed's commitment to our green programs. So today you're going to hear from Dayna Adelman from Heineken. And I've had the great privilege of going over to the Heineken office building on Hamilton Avenue on the 11th and 12th floor. And Heineken has made a commitment to Westchester County. They have approximately 200 employees that are here in Westchester County. They actually closed their New York City office, came up to Westchester. And they've done that because of a lot of great attributes for Westchester County, the great workforce, the smart workforce that we have, and because of commitments and work done by our Westchester Business Council and many of you in this room. But what Heineken has done has made it clear that they're made a commitment to sustainability. And they are at the forefront of what a sustainable business needs to be and should be, not only for the present, but really for the future. So when somebody like Dayna comes up and speaks at a sustainability forum like this, it is indeed something very special because of the commitment Heineken has made. So I want to thank Heineken, I want to thank you, Dayna, and everybody. So enjoy the program. The Westchester Green business team has made such great strides, and the county executive, myself, we are committed to continue to work with them to make sure that those strides continue in Westchester County. We have a partner in this in government. We have our Board of Legislators who works very hard with our green business team to make sure this can be accomplished. So thanks to all of you for your commitment, because you're the future. Your businesses, your students who are here from PACE who work on environmental issues all the time, you're the difference. You're going to make the difference for the next generation. And on behalf of our county executive, on behalf of all of us, thank you for that commitment and enjoy today's forum. Thank you.
This is always fun for me. John Ravitz, I'd like to invite John Ravitz, who is the COO of the Business Council of Westchester and the program partner for the Westchester Green Business Program.
Thank you very much, Danny. Good morning, everybody. I also want to thank Con Edison again, because they really, at the very beginning of this partnership between the County Executive's Office and the Business Council of Westchester, Con Edison stepped up. And because they stepped up, we've been able to go out and get some more support because people have seen that Con Edison has made that commitment. So Jane, thank you again very much for that. Kevin said it all. This program is one of our signature programs at the Business Council of Westchester. We have seen it grow. We have seen it be now looked at as a model across the country for other municipalities to really engage their businesses in learning, and not just learning, but then taking action to become more sustainable. And as we've always said throughout these events, it's great for businesses to get involved. It's great for their employees. It's great for retention, and it's great because all the information is transferable. Everything that the businesses and their employees do the challenge and the certification program, they can talk about at home with their families. So it's a win-win for everybody. And for Heineken, again, Kevin was spot on. Their commitment has been there for Westchester County, their commitment to the environment. And I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, but if anyone can ever go see their offices on Hamilton Avenue, they'll see that commitment. And they'll see why they have been given all the certifications, the LEED certifications that they've gotten because of that commitment. And that commitment comes from the top down. And so to have a CEO be able to say we're going to continue to be leaders in the environment is very, very important. And to say that from a company that now Westchester is their home, that's huge for us. So to Heineken, congratulations. To Danny and Scott and Meg and Yana, congratulations for continuing to do the work that you do. And again, learn today and then take action. Thanks.
You didn't lower it for Jane. Now Jane Solnick from Con Edison, the head of public affairs for Westchester, is going to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say that it's been a great partnership for Con Edison. We have been in it since the inception, and it's really been a wonderful, I want to point out, it's a great public-private partnership between Westchester County, the Westchester Business Council, and Con Edison. As you can see, many other organizations have followed suit. I've seen this program grow dramatically over the years. Lots of people have heard me in this room say it before, but for those who haven't, people say, why would Con Edison want to be asking people to be energy efficient and lower their bills? The reality is we all want to save the environment. You don't want us to be building new infrastructure in your backyards. We don't want to be building new infrastructure. And by working in collaboration, we can all succeed. And I must also tell you that many of the people in this audience have worked with us, and we have been able to collaborate on saving them a lot of money, and so that they can develop their own products more so. And we have a table out front. I want to remind you, Mick Gilbert was out there. I know many of you know him. He's waving his hand out there in the back. And he can direct you to a lot of the programs. We have programs for large organizations and small businesses and for your individual homes. So please take advantage of it. We all want to keep our Westchester County as beautiful as it is. And I want to really thank Scott and Danny because they've done a wonderful job. So many companies have gotten involved. It's been really a pleasure to be part of it. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Westchester Green Business Program, but just really have to say we are so excited to have Dayna here today and to hear her story. And Scott and I have had the pleasure of being over at Heineken a few times for a few events. And I mean, the very interesting and amazing thing is that the building that Heineken is in is a Rexon building, and it's a LEED Gold building. So it's a LEED Gold tenant in a LEED Gold building. So we just love that whole tenant, landlord, building owner, property manager collaboration, because that's really what we need in order to really move the needle in a big way on sustainable business. Okay, so, I'll do that ever. Okay, so we love our new logo. It's just so exciting always to see it up here. And our partners are the Business Council of Westchester and Westchester County Government. And our program, we're making it look really easy. 1, 2, 3, 4 quick steps to become certified. There's a little bit more work involved than that. But we have a really great program. It is a turnkey system. We provide you with the materials that you need, all the resources that you need to go step by step through a certification process. And all of our members have access to all of us. So anytime that they need assistance, we are available to meet. We're available on the phone. We have training sessions 4 times a year for members. We call them lunch and learns. And the really cool thing also has just the connectivity that we've been able to make happen between our members who are helping each other, doing business together. So it's really very exciting. So these are the 7 areas of focus for the program. And organizational commitment at the top, because as I'm sure Dayna will attest to today, without commitment from the top, the rest of it just doesn't matter. So you have to have a way for staff to engage, for your vendors, your suppliers, for everybody to be involved and to really feel good and valued as part of all of this work that has to be done in order to really holistically make a difference with a company towards sustainability. Very unique to our program is this greenhouse gas emissions inventory tool that we have developed. It was actually developed by my company, Green Team Spirit. And what's unique about it is that it takes all of these areas and metrics and puts them in one place. So you will go and input certain data, number of employees, square footage, et cetera, and then the tool is programmed to populate and calculate from cost information and consumption information for you. And what's nice about it is we now have members that are tracking, that have data for like 6 years, and they're seeing what has happened over time. And if maybe something comes up and there's a little change, for example, in energy usage, they can always go back and learn, oh, maybe we hired more employees, or we've bought more building space, or here's the reason why there are these changes. But companies are really finding it very helpful to be able to follow the metrics. So this is slide 1 of 2 slides. We have 76 members of the program, and as you can see, we range from a small ice cream store, the Blue Pig in Croton-on-the-Hudson, to large hospitals, to farms, to hotels, office parks, many nonprofits, USTA. Just a really incredible, exciting, and we've got libraries, very, very exciting group of businesses. And every one of these businesses is focused on this work, whether they are certified or not. So these are the 21 organizations of the 76 that have actually achieved certification. We're very proud of all of them, and we have gone to their place of business and held a ceremony with the county executive and the business council leadership and local leaders and our team, and we really make a big deal to celebrate when companies do achieve certification. So a few new things. This is really great, and we have some of our PACE students here today as well. So Meg Curtin is running the internship program for Westchester Green Business. She's the membership and marketing manager of the program. And it's very exciting. So we're training with a partnership with Greenberg Nature Center. We are training college and graduate students and matching them with our companies. So those companies that said, hey, I need some help to really get through the certification process, we are sending them trained interns. So if you are in the program and you want an intern, please reach out to Meg, because this is available to you, and it's an incredible opportunity. And it's also an opportunity for you to support our young, bright people, I won't say children, who really we need to understand this work and to be able to move our whole society forward. So it's a win-win for everybody. Industry forums. So we've shifted. We have done 4 of these so far. We think that this is just a fantastic way for us to go. So we've done industry forums, bringing together the leaders. We did one for healthcare, We did one for library leaders. We just did one for the real estate industry, and we're going to be, our next one on April 27th is bringing together the leaders of colleges. And really sort of the format, we have, there's maybe like 25, 30 people at a round table, and those who have become certified through our program are at the table and, talking about their experience and really encouraging others to follow suit. And we feel that this is like going to be the most powerful and dynamic way for us to grow the program, because when groups and when associations really come together to move the needle, then that's when it's really going to happen. So the program is now available throughout all of New York State. So we received a couple of years ago a $540,000 grant from NYSERDA simply to move this program and grow this program. So we were being asked by other organizations outside of Westchester, like, why can't we be involved? And we spoke to our representatives at the state, and they're like, why they should be involved. And so they're really encouraging all organizations in New York State, because the reason they're investing in us to begin with is that they feel that this is a replicable model that is going to be able to be available to all businesses through New York State. So we're very excited about that. And now for Dayna, and I'm going to read her bio, and very excited to hear what she has to say. And I don't know why my iPad keeps taking pictures. So Dayna Adelman is the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at HEINEKEN USA. She is responsible for leading the refinement of the company's sustainability, responsible consumption, and alcohol policy strategies in order to integrate and embed sustainability and responsibility programs into the business and throughout the industry. Dayna oversees the U.S. implementation of Heineken's global sustainability platform, Brewing a Better World. In her previous role at HEINEKEN USA, Dayna was a communications manager whose scope of work spanned both internal and external communications. She oversaw the planning and implementation of major corporate events and handled brand PR efforts for Dos Equis, Amstel Light, and the Heineken Music platform. Prior to joining HEINEKEN USA, Dayna worked at a variety of New York City-based public relations agencies. Her background is in consumer and corporate communications, brand PR, and CSR. She graduated with distinction from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where she majored in journalism and mass communications with a specialization in PR and a double major in dramatic art. She currently resides in Manhattan, and I have to just let the secret out that she's moving to Amsterdam. So, thank goodness this happened today, because she's joining the global team and she's out of here. So, welcome, Dayna.
Thank you, Danny and Scott and everyone for coming this morning. As Danny said, I am leaving the U.S. for Amsterdam in just 2 weeks' time. So when we were talking about the potential of rescheduling, I said, I can't. We have to do this today. And so here we are, and thank you all for being here. One thing that's not in the bio that I do want to mention, I am a native New Yorker, grew up on Long Island, and am happy to be back here and working in Westchester County. So let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about what we're doing in the world of sustainability at HEINEKEN USA. Before we do that, though, we have to take a look at where we're coming from. And as most of you know, Heineken is a major global brewer. We have a footprint in over 190 countries around the globe. And our Brewing a Better platform, which was launched now almost a decade ago, is a really comprehensive strategy that takes a look at 6 key areas of the business. And what I want to point out is this green box on your right-hand side. So today, and this is now true for the last 4 or 5 years, Brewing a Better World is one of the 6 key business priorities in the global business strategy. So when we spoke about this coming from the top down, this was the global CEO of Heineken saying, this is a priority. This is one of our 6 main priorities. And I feel proud to work for a company that is committed to doing this. The interesting thing about the operation in the United States is that we don't actually have any breweries here in the United States. So for many years, we looked at this agenda and said, what a fantastic framework. But a lot of what the activity is geared towards is the brewing operations. So what do we do? So we were given creative license to take a look at this, find relevant connections within the United States, and really have a blank slate to create our own agenda here. So this leads us to our current strategy at Heineken USA. If globally we're trying to brew a better world, here in the US, we're focused on building better cities. And we are so proud to be part of the White Plains community. I wish I can give a presentation all on community efforts, but we're going to talk about sustainability today. But what I wanted to do to set the stage is really show you, in my role as the head of corporate social responsibility, that we do touch on 3 primary areas. So environmental sustainability, which we'll dig into today, responsible citizens, which is all about encouraging better decision making. So hopefully most of you are familiar with the New Year's Eve Safe Ride program that we've done now for over 13 years in the White Plains community, making sure that we're getting our party goers, if you will, revelers on New Year's Eve home safely, that they're enjoying our products responsibly, but then we also have that commitment to get them home. So we do a lot of work not only in the Westchester County area, but around the country in the local communities in which we operate to make sure that we're providing those safe rides home. And then finally, inclusive communities. So we, of course, have our U.S. headquarters in the White Plains area. We have a large percentage of the workforce in the U.S. in Westchester County, but we're also spread out around the country, and there's a lot of great work going on in L.A., Atlanta, Chicago, you name it, we're there, and we're in those communities. So going back over to the environmental sustainability side of what I do, we're really laser focused now on 2 main areas here in the U.S. The first is what we'll call finding a home for recycled glass. As an importer into the U.S., it's our duty to make sure that we are helping fix some of the challenges with the recycling system that is taking glass out of the stream. And so I could talk your ear off for hours about what we're doing there, but we'll get into some of it today, and I'm happy to chat one-on-one in the next 2 weeks with any of you to dig in a little bit further there. But we're also focused on growing more places with sustainable green places, and hopefully you'll see some examples in here today that really show how we're bringing to life. That's focused on how we can make our communities better, how we can make them greener, how we can support the work that you guys are doing right here in the community. So why do we do this? Why does it all matter? Well, clearly we have someone in Amsterdam saying this is important, so I'm going to make this one of the 6 key business priorities, but it goes beyond that. Heineken is still a family-owned business. We're a purpose-driven culture, and we know that in order to be around, we've been around for 150 years, in order to be around for 150 more, we need to be a sustainable business. We need it to grow our families. We need it to grow our businesses. And research is showing that our customers care about it too. So this comes from a recent study that says 75% of millennials are willing to spend more for a company that has sustainable business practices. And so what we're going to talk about a little bit today, I thought instead of getting too technical, is actually take a look at how in the U.S. we're bringing our sustainability agenda to life through the lens of our brands and how we're talking to consumers and sharing information with them in a different way, serving them information, educating them on key issues, and doing it in a way in which they probably, on the surface, wouldn't realize that we're talking sustainability. And one of our first ways in which we did this was the sustainability report we launched in 2015. So it came out in the summer of 2016. And this was the first time that we stepped away from saying, we're not going to produce a 60-page glossy PDF that no one's going to read. We're going to create an interactive digital experience where you, the consumer, can navigate through our journey. And I wish I could show it to you today, but it's on our website. If you go to HEINEKENUSA.com, I invite you to check it out. It takes people through our recycling efforts, our Safe Ride programs. We import a lot from Mexico, from our Mexican breweries, and we recently underwent an initiative to take back the system and ship over sea instead of shipping by land, which reduced our emissions by over 29%. So you get in the boat in Mexico, and you come up through the waterways, and you get to the US, and you learn about it as you're playing this almost Nintendo-like gaming system. So once we cracked that code and realized there's something here, we decided to take a look at our primary brands in the US and say, how do we continue to engage through our brands? How do we leverage the power of our brands? And with the Heineken being the name on the door, really get into the creative and the advertising and immerse ourselves in that world to tell our story. So we have a great partnership with an organization called the Recycling Partnership. They are dedicated to bettering curbside recycling throughout the United States. And we also have a wonderful sponsorship with the International Champions Cup, which is a major soccer tournament that's played every summer in the United States. And it brings all of the teams from the premier European leagues to the US. And you get some matchups that you normally wouldn't see overseas or anywhere else in the world. So as part of our sponsorship, we created the Heineken Beer Garden. And so this year we said, we're not going to have a traditional beer garden. We're going to take the two teams that are playing that day. We're going to see which fan base recycles more. And so what we set out to do was create different recycling areas within our footprint that were branded with each of the teams. And you had brand ambassadors walking around the area, and they were encouraging consumers, when you're done with that cup, when you're done with that bottle, that can, go recycle it and go support your team. And it was a way in which you got consumers to start to think about recycling in a different way. And we had branding throughout the space. We had table tents on the picnic tables. So you were learning without it being forced down your throat. And the best way to do this is to reward consumers, right? So we were able to measure in real time who was winning. We turned it into a competition or a challenge. And then throughout the game, we were able to give seat upgrades to those who were part of the winning team. So I have a video that brings this to life.
We're here in Ann Arbor at the International Champions Cup. Here we have Real Madrid playing Chelsea, and so obviously there's strong fan bases.
The captain for Chelsea FC is number 26, John Terry.
Heineken is here partnering with us to kind of make sure communities around the country are recycling. Not only are there people drinking Heineken and enjoying the beverage, they're also learning a little bit about recycling in the community.
Today's an example that it's easy to recycle at home, work, and play, and with a rivalry right today, where when you're done with your Heineken beverage, you can recycle your cup in 1 to 2 bins to vote for your team. We're bringing home the message that recycling is easy to do.
They set up like a really nice area here with some good beer, and they got the foosball tables here. We were able to play the whole time, compete back and forth, just like we're gonna watch the games.
And I'm obviously a Real Madrid fan because we're the best club in the world.
Chelsea fan, obviously. We came up to Michigan just to see this game, once in a lifetime opportunity.
They had human foosball over here. I went in there with some teammates and ended up coming out with the win. Heineken is great. I actually, first thing I walked in and grabbed a Heineken beer, honestly. Love Heineken.
So that's just, thank you. It's one recent example, and I hope I can share this as a case study. This can be done on any scale. If you have a footprint in any local community walk, an event, find the way to bring your message that's going to resonate with that particular audience. We're lucky that we had the soccer platform and that the brand team said, come on in, but it really can be done at any level and at any scale. This past year at Coachella, we decided to make the Heineken House green for the first time, which is surprising. We were with Coachella from the beginning, I think almost 16 or 17 years now, and we've had a presence there. If any of you have been to any of the festivals where we have the Heineken House, it's a great place to get in from the heat, cool down, grab a beer, dance, and we have our own DJs and entertainment. So this year, though, there would have been no Heineken House unless you danced, because it was a sustainable dance floor, and the more you danced, the more you lit up the house. So this was a way for us to think a little bit outside the box, to get people thinking differently, to understand what the motion was doing for the house and how we were actually conserving energy when people's energy went down because we weren't wasting what we weren't using or what we didn't need at that moment in time. And this idea actually came from, in April of last year, our team globally did a piece where they focused on the 6 breweries that we have around the globe that brew beer by the sun, and we actually call it Brewed by the Sun. And we said, okay, well, again, we don't have the breweries in the US, let alone we don't have breweries being powered by solar in the US. But we do have Coachella, and we do light up Coachella. So this was our way to find relevancy with the global agenda, but again, do it at the localized level that made sense for us. And it will be back in April in California for anyone who might be who might be going out there. Ooh, I'm gonna go back. All right, so this is my audience interaction portion of the presentation. So does anyone know when the last time was that you could swim in the Hudson River? I know, they have it's the, is it the New Amsterdam swim or the? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so there's a lot of, and I should have clarified that because you guys gave very legitimate, good answers. If you're in certain areas south of here, there are places where you probably wouldn't want to get into the river. But in 1873, just like in many other major cities around the world, people were using the water to bathe in and to really get their main source from the river. Today, this is what we're looking at in terms of areas that are really safe versus not safe to swim in the river. However, this system over here on the left was technology created by a company called PlusPool. And the best way to explain it is like a life-size Brita filter that filters the water coming in to make an area safe to swim and pushes clean water back out. And it would look a little something like this. So PlusPool does not quite exist yet, but we found out about this project about a year ago, and we've been working with them to figure out, water being such an important part of our global strategy, how do we help purify the water to make it, to give it back to the people so that they can get into the water again where it's already not safe to swim. And I'm really happy to share this because just in about a month's time in April, we're partnering with the Tribeca Film Festival to create a documentary about PlusPool to raise awareness about their project and to help them have a permanent presence in Manhattan or in the waterways of the Manhattan area. So I hope that there will be a lot more that will come out of this one. For today, it was just a little bit of a tease of what's to come. But it's a project that's definitely near and dear to our hearts, and something that we think, as a good community member, we want to be able to support others who are also going down this sustainability journey with us. So I spoke a lot about Heineken and being our primary brand. We do a lot with that brand, but there's a lot of great work going on with some of our other brands. And one example that I want to share with you today is a campaign that's actually launching in a week's time. It's a Strongbow cider campaign, and it's called Nature's Remix. They did a ton of research, and they found out that nature deficit disorder is alive and well in urban areas. So there are lots of people, not a lot of green space. And so they're on a mission to change some of that and to bring urban greening back to the city. So I'm going to show you a quick video of a project that was done in South Africa about a year ago to kick off the campaign. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's going to be going on in our own backyard in just a few weeks.
You're the one I follow all the way up, way into the darkness when the sun is shining yellow. Hollowing out a hole in the world tide, hiding in the middle, away from all the sorrows, swallowing all down.
Natural spaces in the world are actually becoming smaller, so if everybody could do their little bit and plant a tree, I think it will go a long way.
It's a really cool campaign, something very different. So we're not doing exactly this in New York, but we will be partnering with Swell. Is anyone familiar with Swell? So it's a barge where you can grow your own food. There's green space, and it's something that's unique to the New York City area. So we'll be doing a takeover of Swale in just a few weeks' time, where we'll actually help bring to life even more elements and help them grow more food, bring more people, and out of their city and into nature without really having to leave their own backyard. So this is something we're really proud of, in particular because it's a global campaign that is now starting to incorporate sustainability into the actual foundation of the idea. It's a CSR idea coming to life through commercials. So there'll be a TV spot that goes along with this, and local executions in cities all over the US and around the world. So we're very excited by it. I think this is just the start. We're just beginning to scratch the surface, but we're on a really great journey, and I'm proud of the work that our teams are doing. And last but not least, I did want to come back and bring it back to our own local community. Each year we do what we call a corporate day of giving here in the area. And because we now have moved our Manhattan-based employees to Westchester, and we're building the base here, we'll be focused on a project in Yonkers this year that will be really focused on urban greening, but there will be recycling components and elements to that as well. So the details are being worked out, but it's something I wanted to share, even though it's preliminary, because we're very pleased to have an activity in our own backyard and to bring our over 200 employees in the area to take part in that day. So if you sit in operations or you sit in finance and you don't really get to touch this work on a day-to-day basis, this is the opportunity for our own employees to learn more, to get out, to serve the community in which we operate, and many of us live, work, and play. So this will be coming summer 2017. And with that, I wanted to leave some time for questions.
I'm going to start. Yes. So can you just talk about how this incredible effort of CSR, how it's good for business. I mean, to me it's obvious, but it's a lot, sounds like a lot of money, a lot of effort goes on around the globe, and tell us about the connection to business.
Sure. That's a great question. And that's the question our marketeers always ask us. Okay, so I personally believe in this and I do this at home and I recycle, but why should I spend all this money and the Heineken brand's money to bring that to life? And I go back to that 75% stat, and while that was speaking just to millennials, it's true of today's consumer. They're of a different mindset. They're thinking about this stuff. They care about this stuff. They take it personally. And I think in today's world, not enough companies are doing this work yet. So it's actually a place of differentiation. Not only are you doing the right thing, but you're doing something different from your competitors as well. So it's a competitive advantage. And that's something, it's a way to bring your own brand personality to life and to pull in that new consumer base, or for someone who's been, a Heineken drinker for their whole life, to start talking about what we are doing and make them even more loyal than they've always been. So that's the way we look at it at Heineken and how we approach it.
Any questions?
Any questions? Yes. It depends. In the U.S. right now, most of them have been our own, honestly, and we like to work with local organizations. So the Plus Pool, the guys at Plus Pool, they're based in Brooklyn, and not to say we would never partner with a GE. I think we're very open to that. Either the right opportunity hasn't presented itself, or and that's partially on us too to find those right opportunities. I think on a global scale, yes, we've seen it happen, but not yet here in the U.S.
Can you drill down a little bit more, following up on Danny's point, just on the employees? I mean, obviously, as Danny said, this is a huge commitment.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the surprising things or positive things that you found as you presented this to your team and your employees, across the country and around the world?
Yeah, so great question. We have a few touch points throughout the year where we actually have our full employee base together. And for the last 2 years now, the CSR agenda has a permanent spot on that meeting's agenda, so we can actually show and tell and talk about the importance, of course, backed up by internal communications throughout the year. But what we find that it does, we say at Heineken we bleed green, and you feel that, I think, the second you walk into our offices. Everyone is all hands on deck. They feel like they're working for a purpose-driven organization. It's not just about selling that case of beer. It's selling the case of beer and changing the world. And our employees feel that, they understand that. You would think it'd be hard to pull people away from their desk for Day of Giving. It's like the best day of the year. People are like, sign me up, can we start at 7 a.m. and not 8 a.m.? And where's my t-shirt, and how do I get my hands into the dirt and do something? You see that with our employees who are out in the field scattered across the United States with our Safe Ride programs, right? It's an ask to them to spend money to work with their local Safe Ride providers to provide rides in their communities. But they do it because it's important, and they're committed, and they understand why it's important and why without that, we don't have a business. And so we do a lot of, I hate to call it show and tell, but we explain why we're doing what we're doing, and we constantly share, and we always try to push the boundaries to be more innovative and go outside the box each time so that it feels fresh and different, and that we're putting just as much creativity into this work as we are with, the most interesting man campaign or anything that you'll see on TV. Yes? Absolutely. So for us in the United States, because we are an importer and we are responsible for bringing glass into the market, recycling is of prime importance to us. And it's not to say it's not important in France or Spain or Mexico. It's just that they're set up differently. They have breweries, they have bottles that make their way back to the brewery and get reused right there in their own backyard, whereas for us, we bring it and it never leaves. So that's one area in particular where we're committed to finding solutions for recycling glass, because it's a problem that's unique to us here in the United States. Whereas around the world, someone this morning was saying, I hope we'll talk a lot about water conservation. And of course, there are many different things we can do in the area of water conservation in the US to help the US. But because we don't have a brewery in the US, a lot of our initiatives would be linked to something like Plus Pool versus our own operations. So we actually have a little bit of wiggle room to kind of design and create our own agenda with the guidance of the global agenda, because we don't have the brewery. So you could look at it as I wish I had the brewery so we can do Brewed by the Sun, but actually there are a million other things we could be doing that are linked to the agenda and actually affect the people here at home. Did that answer the question? Okay. Yes?
Has there been consideration of building a brewery here in the U.S.?
Not that I know of. We're a proud importer. A lot of our competitors have brewing operations in the US, and we find that it's a really unique point of differentiation for us, but I would not be the right person to answer that question. I don't know if the talks are going on behind closed doors, but as far as I know, I don't think so.
Can you talk a little bit about green of the supply chain and what you've been doing, if anything, with vendors and other, not just with the glass, but maybe other companies you do business with?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great one. We have a supplier code, first of all, and I should have mentioned that. So we cannot do business with you unless you meet our code. So that's first and foremost. So in addition to bottles, we're also very laser focused on packaging. So the actual material, how do you get that premium looking case without using unnecessary material and waste? And we've actually done a lot of work with our breweries in Mexico to lightweight the packaging. And as of 2016, that was rolled out into the market in the US. So that's definitely very important to us, as well as the transportation, right? How are we getting our product here into the US? Because we all know, big carbon footprint if you're shipping. And that's, I spoke a little bit about when I was talking about the sustainability report, but that's when we found about 3 or 4 years ago that we were not doing the right thing by trucking it over the border and then having it go to demand points versus taking it back to the waterways to get closer to distribution centers around the US. So I'd say in addition to recycling efforts, very focused on packaging and transportation.
So do you think that those codes, that the vendor, codes, is something that, I know that it's pretty pervasive in corporate America, but is that a trend that you think is, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I think so. In order to be able to call yourself a sustainable business, I think you need to have that as the first line of defense to be able to assess who you're doing business with. And similar to the checklist that you put out for your members, we need to make sure that we're not doing business with someone who we shouldn't be doing business with. And that's very relevant here in the US for our operations at home, but it's even more relevant globally where we're talking about the sourcing of the actual raw materials. That's something that is scrutinized because we don't want to be getting the hops from the wrong place or the bottles from the wrong manufacturers. And I am pleased to share that actually 78% of the Heineken green glass bottles in the US are made from recycled material, which I can say is a lot higher than any other major brewer in the world. Yeah. Yes?
No question about sustainability and the long-term benefits. Being a sustainable person and business myself, I understand it costs more to invest in this kind of a commitment. Has this helped sell more beer?
That's a good question. I want to say yes, and I'm going to go back to the transportation example, only because not only did we find a sustainable solution from an environmental perspective, we also fixed a quality issue. So we were able to get the product faster to our demand points, and then we saw people going through the product quicker because they had it readily available. So that's just one way in which one thing that we weren't even trying to solve got solved through a sustainability issue. In terms of, consumers reacting to what they're seeing out in the field or on TV now and numbers going up, we'd like to make the link. Unfortunately, I think it's too hard to tell. We just don't have the research right now to back it up. But because this has become such a focus for us, and because we do have, the Strongbow campaign that is linked to advertising, I would suspect in the next few years we'd be able to track that better. Yes. It's a tough question, but a good question. There are many practices in Europe that they develop products sometimes, and when we tell them we can't bring that to our market because that would never be able to be recycled here, they don't understand why, but they listen because we're the experts in our own market. I think for us, and I'm going to go back to recycling. There's a product out there for the bars, for the on-premise, that in Europe, the system, it's not your typical keg. It's made of PET, and so the system in Europe can just be recycled as is. Here in the US, it would have to be disassembled first, broken apart, and then recycled. So we act more of an advisor to our European colleagues to tell them what we can and what we can't do. They don't always like it, but we have to create products that are sustainable for our market. And I think there's a lot we can learn from Europe. A lot of the work I do, we created a coalition called the Glass Recycling Coalition about a year ago that brings together brands, it brings together material recycling facilities, brings together glass suppliers, or glass manufacturers, and it brings a lot of competitors to the table, and we have been trying through the last almost a year to find some solutions to take a look at what's going on in Europe and some other areas of the world and help improve and better the systems here. So from being a European company, we can help that group as well say, well, this is how they're doing it this way, that way. And of course, these people are experts in their field too. So what I can say is while we haven't changed everything overnight, these conversations are happening, and having Heineken be part of the conversations, I think, helps further and push because we've all got to do our part to make it work here. Mm-hmm. There are. So I actually think I have one of the best jobs because through the work we do on those coalitions, through some of the work I do at the Beer Institute on responsibility, I get to work with our competitors. So it's a really interesting job. We're all in it together, and I would speak highly of our competitors in that respect.
So maybe we can do an industry forum for the beer industry.
Exactly. And I will say, to give credit to the craft brewers, they are leading the charge, which is great. It's so great, and more